Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You'll be starting in the next few minutes. Just let us know that the term has six extension and gallery. So we don't want anyone to sit or stand at the back as well. So basically, you don't have any seat in the table, the outside, and the gallery for the seat. It's quite comfortable, but you have a better view of what's happening on stage of the gallery. We'll start the opening ceremony. Let's wait a bit for everything to settle down. Reglamentos. Professor, Nicola Calabrese. That being said, we'll start the program by rising to take the national anthem. And after that, I mentioned that introduction. So let's get upstanding as we take the national anthem. Thank you very much. Please have your seat. We started like it means from the power December 2019. By January, there was noise in the typical Wuhan in China. Before the end was no know about the typical Wuhan. And like February was the start of the national public emergency of international concern. Not long after that was declared a global pandemic. In Nigeria, we heard that in China, China had their problems. February 2020, we had the first case in Nigeria through the Italian visitor. And from then to now, locally, we have to fight this pandemic. A lot of water under the bridge, they have lost their loved ones. Many first responders have succumbed to this virus. But briefly, thankfully, they are still there, standing. Many have been infected, many have very terrible disease. Some people have the long COVID, of course, with the syndrome. But thank God, they're still very important. So this conference this year is looking at what has been done in this pandemic control and trying to situate it. When we have already what we can do, what let's say I will learn from it, and how can we prepare for the next pandemic? I would like to respectfully ask us to stand up on the challenge, recognition of the first responders, particularly who have succumbed to this pandemic. Please, the English culture. They are so rest in that place. It's silence. If I can example, I'm going to quickly use to recognize some of my invited guests here today before we proceed on with the program. Of course, we will start from those who are traveled all the way from the United Kingdom to the us here this morning. And I've already introduced Professor Gupta, and also introduced Dr. Douglas Payne, the clinical assistant professor from University College London. Douglas, welcome. Thank you. Okay. By video, please don't know the direction. So let's appreciate. Yeah. Thank you very much, sir. Douglas is not a stranger to Nimr. This is the sixth time of coming to Nigeria and to Nimr, and we have collaborated on some very outstanding research in Nigerian patients in terms of whether we know or this is among them. So I'm glad that he's already joining us for this year's conference. Also from UK is Dr. Stephen Kemp, Social Associate University of Cambridge, United Kingdom. Thank you so much. I'm very long to talk about it. He was one of our speakers for the conference yesterday. He taught us about informatics. Let's have him speak. Also from United Kingdom is one of our own Aidan Abdullahi for Cambridge. The research fellow, also the laboratory of Professor Buddha. Welcome. Thank you so much. Is it? Okay. It's yellow science, so it would be like this protocol. Okay. So also to introduce to us other important dignitaries in the house, I'm trying to search through my list. One of our speakers at the conference yesterday, all the way from Senegal, which were giving me today. I want to bring it also to the high table. It's please, I don't want to mother you. It's just something that I think about. I think it's like you know, let's appreciate it. It's something that I think. Okay. So when they come up with this for introduction, thank you very much. So also we have a lot of high research fellow. Also, yeah, Lima, also with the Federal Society for Environmental Epidemiology, she was part of the judges for young scientists, content this morning. Dr. Adito Mustafa, thank you so much for coming to the application. And also having us this morning, the National President of Association of Medical Lab Scientists of Nigeria. We have traveled all the way from the city of Dallas to be with us today. This again, make record Professor James Daniel on that subject. Thank you so much for coming. Okay. All the way from Dallas. Let's appreciate Professor James Daniel. Thank you so much. So during the course of the program, I will recognize other individuals, especially our guests from here in Nimr. But let's move on with the program. I'm inviting Professor Ravida Gupta to give his opening remarks. Can you speak on where you are? Well, I'm not sorry the only had the okay, all right. Now, the directed the course of this program. So before Professor Rani comes to give his opening remarks, I want to have a welcome address of the chairman of Central Organizing Committee for this conference, Dr. Peter Warner. This clap for Dr. Peter is very Good morning, everyone. The delight to have this be called. I will miss my protocols, but it's I'm excited. I'm sorry. On behalf of the Central Organizing Committee, I really want to welcome everyone. It's really been a delight for all of us. The two things we try to bring along, when I come to the 19 articles, try to get you to become the conference of everyone in Nigeria. That I could be able to working become like what we have done in the year. So that was a very for people. I will now model into the conference of health services, innovation and research. And this has been posted at the Center of in 2011. We can do a lot of things for this country, and for us, and for the world. Some are positive, we're not available, but we are still positive. And now we want to write the positive net of the it, and then address the shortfalls. And one of the things that bring that for me, we've been in health research, we've been giving all around. But all of a sudden, health research are all the views. But we need the man and woman of the year. And it is something we need to build on. All of a sudden, we are seeing private sector jumping off. And it is something we need to build on. And something I'm very proud of. Usually, I'm not too old here. People are one and another say, I'm not seeing some capital equipment supported by the government or people will also be partner and the Vikings. But I'm very proud to say, whenever I do like that, you have an NGS slicing machine, what by $1 million, what by the federal government for Nigeria. So I am very proud of the things that have come out of this. No Muslims in fact, I think is still on the health sector. We have crowd pictures of scientists sitting in their hazmat suits, and we have been proclaimed heroes of the day. But we need to package all of this together and move this to a point where even beyond the pandemic, we can continue and ride it, move something that just ends with the pandemic. Now, one of the things we are trying to do, most of the things we got it by showing everything at COVID-19. But we cannot continue like that because a lot of things have been cautious, like the packets of HIV, malaria, and different other illnesses. So we need to also address that. We hope that this unique platform will have disciplinary appreciation and consolidation of the gains we have made by reversing this pandemic. And then those unique innovations we can put them to work in other aspects of health. That is why it's very important for us that we have all of people, the doctors, the clinicians, the researchers, any other sector to work with us to move this forward. And I'd just like to appreciate it at the time of management and the staff. But the cabinet environment to put this together. It's really been challenging, but I want to thank you all. My gratitude goes to all our sponsors, our speakers, and presenters. I will keep getting a representative from every before members and the members of the team. And I really want to appreciate all those kind of collaborations that keep lifting up our hands. Thank you all, and I can look forward to all happening in the conference. Thank you. Please come back to me for chicken one more time. And the midwife process. While Dr. Chica was complete, we have very important degree in science, especially biology in Nigeria, Professor Swansea for further medicine, the rest of the day. So welcome, sir. Thank you so much. We have to take the permission of the chairman to recognize members of our senior management committee in Nimr yesterday this morning. I'll start from Professor Endek, the Director of Research, International Department, One. Thank you so much. Professor Stella I. Smith, Director of Research, Biology and Biosecurity. Thank you so much for coming. Already introduced Professor Kumari Regina, Division Director and Head of Work and Maintenance Department. Thank you so much for coming. Mr. Aki, Director and Head of Department of National Science. Thank you so much for coming. Professor R.K. Director of Research and Head of Molecular Biology Department. Thank you so much for coming. Professor Osi ACG Ulrich, one of the absent, and Mr. Kyo Vigiga, Director of Planning. Thank you so much for coming. This is Dr. Mrs. O.A. Deputy Director, Library and Technology Department. Thank you so much for coming. Mrs. P.A. Malamo, Deputy Director of Merit Internal Audits. Thank you so much for coming. Dr. N.H. Naman, Chief Research Fellow and Acting Head of the Department, Public Health and Clinical Department. Thank you for coming. Dr. O. Aino, Chief Research Fellow and Acting Head of the Department of the Faculty Department. Thank you for coming. Dr. Rai, Research Fellow 1, and Acting Head of CDL, and Dr. T.A. Bamidele, Research Fellow 1 and Coordinator of Molecular Biology and Biotech Department. My name is David Malani. I've been of MC this morning. I'm also providing leadership for the Data Science Department of the Institute. Thank you very much. That being said, we'll take the opening remark of our chairman, Professor Abinda Gupta. Thank you. Please let's appreciate that I come to the podium. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Myself and the team from Cambridge are really privileged to be here, and we are very grateful for the program we've had. And
hospitality and also just to see each other again after so long is wonderful, I think. It's certainly good business or work group that we've taken since the coronavirus restrictions in March 2020. And so I think it's for us a really big occasion for many reasons. Really, the fact that, of course, the conference is geared towards addressing COVID-19. But I'd first like to acknowledge our distinguished guests here and members, including Professor Slava, of course, the Director General of NIMR, and the representative representing Mr. Boston Mustafa and Dr. David Joe. These are distinguished guests, and I'd like to compliment. And really, to keep this rather short, but also I think it's time for us all to recognize that COVID-19 has in many ways brought the world together and should encourage further fostering of international cooperation, international collaboration on not just coronavirus, but of course other diseases such as malaria and tuberculosis. These are all infectious diseases that we are passionately involved in, and we acknowledge the fact that coronavirus has shifted focus away from country diseases. And I think we're all very concerned to bring everything back on track. And maybe keep studying these diseases together. For example, we want to understand whether vaccines work effectively in HIV or not. And understanding the intersection of all of these, I think, would be critical for understanding what coronavirus means for the African subcontinent, because I don't believe that extrapolating all the data from Europe to the US is necessarily going to be relevant for many countries in the world that are having to deal with coronavirus. So I'd like to just end my opening remarks by also saying that we have a wonderful group of people here. I can see from all over Nigeria and other countries. And already we've had interactions, guest house with students, people who are very interested in mentorship, operations, in order that we may be able to foster the next generation of scientists, so that this good work can be carried forward. So I really am impressed by the conference organisation. Of course, you've heard from them earlier today, and I think that the program looks very, very interesting, with some excellent work presented already this morning. We had great interest in the bioinformatics workshop with the student chemicals on yesterday after lots of efforts, and I'm really grateful that there was such interaction. Bioinformatics and genetics, genomics, of course, is a big future in environmental science. It is going to be transformative, and those transformative benefits must be available for all, not just in mining countries. So I think that there is the expertise is here, the passion is here, the will is there. So I think that this conference serves as a very good springboard for driving us forward in improving healthcare. Thank you so much for making it down to the development. This is really addressed by our Director General, your hands, please make welcome to the project. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to begin this speech. I know there is
This tells the story of what driver has done. So today I am addressing the because we are practice. Unfortunately, it's you can do that. Unfortunately, right time to be not slow. So we don't you to be with the party. But I about think driving for you comfort. So hopefully, you know, people get forward this will be able to get that. Then also, you recognize our United Press, something from the Treasury side, I think, if there is some piece, naturally, I think it's a very yeah. And for someone of his age and experience, that the club is always recommended that we can have a lot of. So I also like to recognize Dr. Glasgow, Dr. Stephen Pell, and Dr. Adam Abdullah. I'm invited to the United come from several Dutch companies. Ladies, you don't want to let things be allowed. You want to celebrate so that people can see. I don't give up some people see color. Vision outside Nigeria, and you are there. I go to that place, and then next thing, yes, it's a participant. This I get there. Are you in now? Are you? Well, lots of them, the lots of the press, it's going to be participants, it's going to be students and work for. And that was not even so that conference. Now, the conference of veterans, the nations of Paris. Yeah. This conference are very happy. The Uganda National Convention, the African collaboration and impact. This is the level of the total of care. And six, the direct focus on health advances and on research on national health.
Where is it going?
COVID-19 pandemic, consolidating gains and analytic change. Reflect our thoughts of alternative behavior. To appreciate the gains made in the fight against the SARS-CoV-2 virus, it's possible for this pandemic and consolidate on these gains, officially within the health domain. Second, to identify shortfalls and then make all for these shortfalls at this time for the robust demand on health resources. The COVID-19 pandemic affected all areas of human beings, the economy, social, and health. The bilateral impact on health and individuals, including health workers, mental health, public health, and health system, has been a lot. As I remember, locally showed 248,067,063 confirmed cases, with over 5 million confirmed cases globally. Nigeria reported 220,426 confirmed cases and about 3,000 deaths. These figures have increased in full, if not for advances and education.
Prevention.
Technologies, research, and development. These advances in diagnosis that are highly sensitive and rapid. Treatment doctors such as antibiotic providers, combination of plasma, and monoclonal antibodies, and now vaccines. On the back of that, the Nigerian medical research established the first deadline to walk through COVID-19 testing center in March 2020, and it continues to function in the day. These centers implemented over 41,000 Nigerians using the convenience of free. And ensure that the people they come to this place, it is among the government's financial contribution, all the part of government, and the corporate organizations that support them. We have acquired a lot of people, including the next generation also. Which provided us the opportunity to sequence the industries of COVID-19 and many more samples to help the NCDC handle the circulating students of the virus in the country to date. Our recyclers have developed various recycle kits needed in the process of diagnosis of SARS-CoV-2 infection with PCR. We have also completed COVID-19 test kits and labeled yellow fever and Lassa fever test kits, making available in country home-made devices for diagnosis of disease ravaging our country. Our efforts will assist health practitioners in country in early detection of these diseases to enable appropriate treatment and prevent this spread. We conducted COVID-19 epidemiological studies in Lagos, including mental groups. And University College London, we produce results of COVID-19
for me, I don't know, but the child is born like that. They shit like no only what
While these academics like the vaccination, we also especially in Nigeria, that parents high from although we big survive setback over the past year, we can shift the public health focus to in addition, the indirect effect of mental health and social demand. The more therefore continue to pay particular attention to these diseases of poverty, so that individual researcher and government in order to identify the result of those affected with them. Otherwise, the gains of COVID-19 control will be lost to Oxford, HIV, malaria, and TB. Before we participate, now is the time for authorities to organize social and economic gains made and prevent the potential loss of already active gain, as well as prevent and extend its negative impact on these countries, and provided the platform to national and international key stakeholders in health for the public and private sector to share experiences, research, innovation, and form, and then start the addressing the gains which are for COVID-19. I look forward to an exciting 2 days that will crystallize effort and sustainable strategies to further address the impacts of COVID-19. One of the most issues in the world today is COVID-19 vaccine, development, production, availability, and distribution. Likelihood of vaccine, the faith of developing nations concerning opportunity for vaccinating their population, vaccine advocacy, and vaccine nationalism. Africa is indeed to the center of all of this. And therefore, those who are the key those speakers, the executive director for National Foreign Development Agency, will speak to us in the relation to power politics. To find that right, it's hard to most appropriateness, but there is the conference also goes for modern interests, especially in the different abstracts and the explain. We hope that the challenges of foreign research innovation will put up in clear discussion, which can benefit to provide this in the heart and the goal of practicals. I am sure at the end of these 2 days, we will have value for the time and money. And I welcome you to this conference and to Lagos, the Center of Excellence. It is also said that if you visit Lagos and you are not able to take wisdom for it, then you are likely to be wise to do. I would therefore encourage and distinguish guests and participants to take some time to explore the science and sound of Lagos metropolis. Lagos megacity is developed by the society.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you, distinguished participants, for honoring us with time and resources for making this conference. Thank you very much. So, I will have a name for question. Thank you for this engagement, this conference, and hybrid conference, meaning that we have this one that I get studying here today, and we have a lot of others who are gathered online and part of this event.
P.
It was important, but I just want to quickly mention that the director, the executive director and CEO of National Primary Care Development Agency will be making this institution virtually, and he is represented today by Dr. A.D. Gaba, who is a DPRS from that agency. So after the global messages, we'll be taking your address. Dr. Gaba, I'm sure you can tell me. Thank you so much for being with us today. Up next is global messages, and not really in any particular order, but I want to start with the right thing. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome for his full witnesses, the national president, Association of Medical Life Sciences of Nigeria, Professor Nimr, from Professor Joy. The chairman of the organizing committee is deciding. So, we go on, we don't know what to do. I'm not going to adopt that. The chairman of this open ceremony, distinguished members of the high table, I want to particularly appreciate the Director General of NIMA, Professor Nawal Dalato, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen.
I stand here on behalf of the Association of Medical Lab Scientists of Nigeria to thank the organizers of this conference, and most particularly, I want to thank the partnership of NIDA for putting this conference together. It's actually very unique. What we look at it, even as scientists, talking about, advances, talking about different advances, innovations, and research. By profession, one of the key responsibilities is actually research. And so many things that have to do with research, we are always interested in. And that is why I do not just come alone, but we are more than five. Let's come outside that I do. And NIFA is actually very big word because NIFA has produced our former national president. So the two are so our former national president has been responsible for NIFA. And so we hold NIFA in high esteem. Anything that has to do with NIFA, we always want to associate with them. To commend you because NIFA has played a very important role since the advent of COVID-19. The testing you have done, a lot of the studies that you have conducted, we have read them in lots of journals. It is quite commendable. Even ongoing research that is taking place is quite commendable. Vaccine is very key, and that is the way out of this country. I keep on saying that as Nigerians, we cannot continue to copy what other countries are doing. We expect that we should be the one in front between the sides and let others also copy one thing. They be able to sign references to the protocol of our research. I want to commend you because the caliber of people that you have actually got on board is quite commendable. This conference, I was thinking, is just a national conference. We're seeing a lot of foreigners here. It's an international conference. So I want to thank you, and I believe that at the end of this conference, every one of us, we are going to get some basic move. We should not just come in terms of coming for conferences, but there are going to be some lessons that we will take back that can help us also improve and also improve in our own research. Research is actually the way out all over the world. And I want to call on the federal government of Nigeria to support this institution by increasing their budgetary allocation so that they can go into a lot of research, because that is the only thing that can actually make us as a country move forward. And someone takes note. I want to use all of us participate, including myself, a very successful conference that at the end of the one will see us through and will take us back to our destination safely. I think that's thank you. I will have this one again. Also, I'm going to invite you to the podium for the good message, one of the friend of the house. That the Nimr person was there before, and it's very much of us. It's like the big white conference on Sunday, 11 for the show. Good evening. The Lord God in and in the name of we bow you for that. Thank you very much. Permit me to rest on the well-established protocol. Good scientists don't have that need for following protocols. We are always scientists. It's a pleasure to be here today. To join Nimr and the annual conference. Thank the exhibition. I think on behalf of myself and my center, Charles B, Center for Human and zoonotic priority situated in Lagos University Hospital. We are celebrating Naima, because Naima is actually leading the country when it comes to research and innovation. And we are not going to take this for the sake of saying it. Not quite long ago, when we were launching the synthesizer for primates, which is the basic rudiment for molecular biology. We know that it's a very big relief having this synthesizer within Lagos metropolis. All along, we have been sending requests outside the shores of the country. And we know what it takes to get primates, not to mention the next generation sequencing. And aside that one, lot of funds being available to attract young scientists. To come out, I think we're going to see many of these at these conferences. I think it's a big kudos to NIMA, and of course to the management, and of course the indispensable DG, Professor Samako, for leading the team. Yeah, we warmly associate with NIMA. So we are part of NIMA's development because they keep us, they wake up us from our call. And like we had from brother Professor Ali, we need homegrown techniques, homegrown ideas, homegrown solutions. And that's what we really need. And I think NIMA is everything before. Once again, on behalf of the champion, we congratulate NIMA on this 10th conference. And we hope that we are going to gain from all those research products that we will do at this conference. And well, see that let me congratulate and greet our foreigners, our visitors from Italy. They are warmly welcome. And we hope that we have a nice time together exceeding ideas. Once again, I thank all of you for visiting this edition, and we pray that God Almighty will keep us throughout this 2-day conference, so that by the end of the day, we will have all the peace to go over.
Please thank you to appreciate for Thank you very much, sir, for those kind words. So we go ahead with the program to take the keynote address titled Consolidating the Gains and Improving Access to COVID-19 Vaccines. This will be delivered by Dr. Vaccination, Executive Director, CEO, National Permanent Experiment Agency of Nigeria, who is represented virtually this morning by Dr. A.D. Gaba, DPRS from the FDHCDA. I think are we ready for this talk?
Yes, thank you very much, the chairman, the other members of the high table, and participants online. Can I be allowed to share my screen, or the secretariat is going to share for me? Yes, I think I'm sharing from my side.
Okay. Okay, you are good to go, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So this is a presentation by my executive director, Dr. Faisal Shaib, who is inevitably absent, busy preparing for the PhD summit, and he asked me to sit in for him. Therefore, I will submit my apology for shortcomings, being a representative. So it is consolidating the gains and improving access to COVID-19 vaccine, which also we are going to use to also strengthen the health system in general. Permit me, Mr. Chairman, to just use a few 5 buckets of headlines, which covers from background to the burden of COVID-19 disease, our vaccination strategies, our coverage so far, where we reached as a country, and some of the risk and our mitigation plans. So just as a way of background, COVID-19 vaccines generally were approved globally, and many countries are struggling to get the vaccines. And the federal government through the NVCD has rolled out vaccination exercise across the country to reach all eligible Nigerians. And we plan to reach up to 70% by the end of 22. Now, considering the influx of the vaccines expected in Q4, which we are in now, which surpassed previous shipments received earlier this year, and the relative shortfall, shelf life of the COVID-19 vaccine, the country must ramp up the vaccination so as to ensure that we avoid, wasting the vaccines through the expiry date. So working with our partners and the states and the local governments, currently we are rolling out the COVID-19 vaccine. And our plan is to also leverage the COVID-19 rollout to strengthen the health system. So now, with over 250 million COVID-19 cases globally, Nigeria ranks among the highest countries in Africa, with a total population prevalence of about 213 million people, behind majority of America, European, and Asian countries. If you look at this slide, you can see big buckets like Brazil with the number of cases that is in terms of 100,000, like 344, that is times 100,000 there. So it will amount to 3 million. Likewise, if you look at India, with also a high bucket. But then coming down to Nigeria here, you can see all cases are still low, and we thank God for that. But generally, African countries have less prevalence of coronavirus relative to countries in other regions, as I said. Nigeria ranks 5th, however, in COVID-19 prevalence in Africa, the size of which bubble, each bubble there represents the magnitude of the prevalence. So Nigeria's COVID-19 vaccination indices are currently low relative to other countries outside Africa. And this was largely due to the availability of vaccines when we started. If you look at the right side of the slide, you can see places like Seychelles, Cuba, Brazil, Canada, USA, they have reached about 70 to 80% of coverage. But if you come down to Nigeria here, we are still battling with single digits of coverage. But so far, we have given combined both first and second doses, which subsequent slides are going to show about 8.2 million shots of the vaccination, or we can say jabs of the vaccination. So now, while many countries struggle to intensify efforts to increase vaccination rates with available vaccines, vaccine nationalism poses a major threat to vaccine access. If you look at in terms of concept, in terms of situation and the implication, vaccine nationalism is really a problem. Many countries started, even the richer countries, procured the vaccines even higher than their requirements, and that really poses a problem to the low and middle income countries. For example, US spread about 800 million doses, at least 6 vaccines in development with an option to buy about 1 billion more. If you look at UK has purchased about 340 million shots, approximately 5 doses for each citizen. Canada, which has a population of just 38 million, had up to 362 million doses by the end of January, which will account for more than 9 doses per person. So that really, the implication of that was that the low-income countries were left behind. So we had to receive donations with vaccines that will come with short life. They'll just give us vaccines and they'll say it is going to expire in the next 3 months, and that put us in pressure, to prepare, to ensure that we don't waste the vaccines. Then high risk of viral mutation is also the implication of that poor equity of vaccine distribution. And that if that continues in circulation due to lack of herd immunity from sufficient vaccination. Also potential risk of losing the gains made from vaccinations and reinfection, even in higher income countries with sufficient vaccines. So now looking at our national vaccination strategies, the federal government has received commitments and donations equivalent to up to 1 million doses of mixes of different type of vaccines from COVAX facilities through African Union, some directly from the bilateral arrangement like we received from United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Germany, and French governments. So we received different mixes of vaccines like Moderna and Pfizer. We received them we received 4 million doses of Moderna in August from US. We also received 355,000 doses of Pfizer from US, and also we received AstraZeneca of various types. You can see various consignment and the dates. 501,000 came, 2 million came, and then 3.9 million also came in 2nd October. We also received a combination of 1.02 million doses of AstraZeneca as donation from governments of Germany, Switzerland, and Italy. But now coming to Johnson & Johnson, our country, we ordered about 30 million doses through the African Bank, out of which we have already received 1.17 million doses, and more are coming. In fact, we also expect up to 19.8 million doses of Johnson & Johnson through commitment from the African Union, from European Union in December 2021. So as a country, we plan to reach at least 50% of our target population so as to ensure that we acquire the herd immunity required to curb this menace. And from our population of almost 200 and above 200 million people, I know our 50% target will amount about 50, somehow around 50 to 60 million people. But totally, from the almost 200 million people, we are targeting people above the age of 18. And these people above the age of 18 are roughly 111,776,503. And so far as we are going to subsequently, we vaccinated at least 5.5 million people with first dose of vaccines. We are the right side of the box. We also see because of the slow pace of the vaccination, we are attempting to increase the vaccine access by expanding, the vaccination sites. So with that, we are expecting also almost 25,000 functional public health facilities will be utilized during this phase, and that consists up to 90% of the facilities needed to meet the target. In addition to those functional facilities, up to 3,078 outreach teams will also be deployed to the field, to cover the vaccination sites, and that broken into up to 1,327 mass vaccination sites and 1,751 mobile sites. We are also engaging our private health facilities to ensure that we increase the vaccine access so as to fast track the process and then eventually achieve the 50% coverage. So we divided our model of vaccine distribution into 3 models. We already covered the first model, which we call TEACH. And that one is an acronym of the traditional micro-planning, electronic system of distribution of vaccines, accountability, and then supervision. So to start the uptake of COVID-19 vaccine, NCDA has rolled out 2 additional vaccinations, and now we are merging Model 2 and Model 3. The Model 2, we call it scales, which subsequently we are going to see. We are talking about service, we are talking about logistics, we are talking about also the electronic management. So vaccination exercise expanded beyond the government health facilities to public and private health firms with supervised access to vaccines. So government teams will be deployed to private health facilities, in this model to ensure that the access is increased, so that the issue of saying vaccines is not available or vaccination sites are not enough, long queue, all this is going to be the matter of the question of the past. Model 3, which is combined with Model 2, is vaccine directly managed by eligible private health facilities, so as to ensure that both public and private health facilities also provide the vaccines. So the scale model, which we are now adopting for this phase, involved, as I started saying, the S there stands for service delivery that delivers vaccine to all eligible persons without compromising the efficiency. And the communication there is targeted to ensure that we intensify communication aggressively and reach all the target population so that people will, awareness will be created and people will come and demand for the vaccines. There's also a system of accountability, that which is the A, system to track vaccination activities, detect and promptly address inappropriate and fraudulent activities. Then the L stands for logistics system to adequately forecast, efficiently distribute, and track vaccines and ancillary supplies. And then the ME platform that provide a harmonized data system for reporting programmatic and logistic data to inform decision making. And then strong oversight, strong supervision using a model, a robust system that involved all the partners and the government and the private our technical partners, that we ensure that we work collaboratively to provide a strong oversight for the vaccine delivery. So now this model is being piloted or is being staggered, starting with Lagos and Ogun State. And that involved virtually two things: policy shift as well as strategy optimization. In terms of strategic optimization, we're talking about establishing of mass vaccination sites and then expansion of vaccination sites to all public facilities, primary, secondary, and tertiary facilities. All of them public will be involved. And then in terms of the policy shift, we're talking about the issue of like vaccine mandate, which has started coming into being in places like Ondo, Kaduna, and Edo. And the resulted to surge in vaccine uptake. So both Lagos and Ogun is plan to implement this at the end of December. We are also working behind the scenes to see how other states could also pass this vaccine mandate so that people can take the vaccines, and increase the coverage so that we can get our 50% target by January 2022. So we are implementing 5 approaches to achieve optimization of process in developing the approach for COVID-19 vaccination rollout. And of course, the center of it all is to ensure that every eligible Nigerian resident get the vaccines. And these 5 things, 5 approaches are vaccination in primary, secondary, and tertiary facilities. So all public health facilities ranging from primary to tertiary are going to provide vaccines henceforth. And then secondly, expansion to private health facilities and corporate institutions, public and private, including selected pharmacy stores. And then the third part of it is establishment of mass vaccination sites in places with high traffic like shopping malls, like motor parks. And then leveraging the fixed and outreach RI sessions so that's also to include COVID-19 vaccination in these sites. All of this is meant at improving the access and fast-tracking the vaccination coverage. And then the fifth is the establishment of temporary posts driven through community pop-ups, all this to ensure that vaccines is made available to all Nigerians. So mass vaccination sites will be designed to ensure, it's not just we are providing the vaccines and rushing people to go and take the vaccines. We'll design how people can take the vaccines with a clear flow at the vaccination site, so that there would not be any congestion, there will not be any overcrowding, so that the physical distancing is encouraged. We can see the flow there, starting with the client coming at the first box there to queue up, and then the second, move to the second area for registration, and then move to the third area for waiting where some talks will be given, and then move to the vaccination area. We have section A and section B, and then after vaccination, there's also a place for people to sit down and to just wait for a few minutes in case there's going to be some AEFIs. So we have made all this document, very available, and we had a meeting with the executive secretaries in Lagos on 30th of October, and we brought this information. We teased with them, and we keep on also communicating through online meetings, just to ensure that everybody knows where we are at any point in time. This is also to show the flow charts when it comes to the issue of mobile and outreach sessions. The show is I think the pictures are very clear because of the time. I don't have to go through every box. So just learning experiences from polio, we are also using our GIS technology to identify densely populated areas so that we can mount the mass vaccination site so that we ensure that people are covered wherever they find themselves. And this map shows the example of where mass vaccination sites will be located, based on the population density identified through the GIS mapping. This is vaccination teams are going the extra mile. This is just to show the efforts, people are really putting ensure that eligible Nigerians, are vaccinated, especially in difficult areas, riverine areas, IDPs, hard to reach areas, security compromised areas. You can see, I think these pictures are very clear to show the efforts. This is the launching of the mass vaccination campaign in Lagos. From the left up, you see my chief executive, Dr. Faisal Shaib, with the governor of Lagos State, Mr. Sanwo-Olu. Right, you see him with the commissioner and the ES, or the permanent secretary. And then down, you see the launching of the vaccination. This is also the launching of a mass vaccination campaign in Abeokuta, Ogun State, that took place in 1st November. You can see the governor, showing his vaccination card. You can see the launching and then the vaccination, going on, just to make sure that we fast track the process of vaccination now that we have available vaccines in the country, just to be sure that we acquire the herd immunity adequate enough to protect Nigerians. So now, in terms of communication, because we have realized that hesitancy has been a major issue, just like what we had with polio, we now developed a system of ensuring that we aggressively mount communication strategies that will ensure that every Nigerian is enlightened, and that involve targeted advocacy, intensive media engagement, and community engagement. And in all this, we expect communication activities will focus on high-impact intervention in 3 thematic areas to increase vaccine confidence and uptake in subsequent phases of the vaccination. And the messaging will be centered on the whole family. So because we know whether there is COVID or no COVID, whether there is polio or no polio, Ebola or no Ebola, we know we'll continue to live. And as far as we continue to live means we'll continue to deliver. So if mothers will deliver, children will require vaccination. And therefore we'll go for ANC, for PNC, and other services. So in addition to COVID-19 vaccination, what we are saying is we have to make sure that the other PNC services are also optimized so that we will not be distracted to pay attention to COVID-19 vaccination while the other aspect of the healthcare services suffers. So that is why you bring the issue of whole family approach. So now NBSD has scheduled to roll out public service announcement, because some people are complaining that they want to travel and their data cannot be verified from the card. Then we make sure that we optimize it, and then we pass this public service announcement so that people will get to know at every point in time what to do when it comes to the issue of traveling. Like this one, if I can read, the National Primary Health Development Agency has commenced a nationwide operation to verify COVID-19 vaccination records and validate vaccination cards. This exercise will allow vaccinated individuals correct damaged QR codes and confirm personal information like name and date of birth. It will also enable the federal government to validate COVID-19 vaccination cards to identify those that have been acquired fraudulently. To verify your card, the link is also provided. If you're newly vaccinated, wait for 24 hours because we believe if somebody records now, within 24 hours, it will download and it will register the complete information on the platform. If you cannot access the website, there's also a phone number provided so that one can easily be supported to ensure that the details are updated. This is a process for individuals guide, to update vaccination card. Fully vaccinated clients will be able to edit their record after capturing. For step 1 is to somebody use his phone, to phone camera to scan the QR code, and then it continues. If there is incorrect information, somebody can edit. But one can only edit name, gender, date of birth, and ID information. We will not allow somebody to touch about the vaccination status, so that somebody who has not been fully vaccinated, will just put dose 1 and dose 2. So that side cannot be updated. You can only update this part of it. This is for partially vaccinated, those that have just got a first dose and are not due for second dose, if they want to correct name, gender, date of birth, or information, the system will allow them to do that. So now, because of the information, the reports we are getting, that many people are attempting to acquire the vaccination card without getting the vaccines. And some health workers are being compromised to, to collect token and then give the card without vaccination. We established what we call a joint monitoring task team. And that joint monitoring task team is to ensure that we track all our vaccinations and to ensure that we curb any attempt for vaccine racketeering or for taking the card without vaccination. And in that joint task force, we have people from NTCDA, people from ICPC, people from NABDAC. We also have people from our development partners, as well as the DSS. And we have the three committees at national and state and local government level. And all these people were identified and trained, and they are already swung into action. Therefore, any health worker that tries to compromise our vaccination exercise will definitely be apprehended and be prosecuted. So this is to just say a little about the vaccines, the different types of vaccines. But it is worth noting that in Nigeria, in spite of the over 100 vaccines that are being talked about globally, in Nigeria, we only agreed to use 4 vaccines, and that include the Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, Moderna, and Pfizer. Therefore, any vaccine in this country other than these 4 is illegal. And this is just to indicate the storage conditions of the different vaccines. For example, Johnson & Johnson at the national level can be stored at between minus 25 to minus 15 degrees, and peripherally at the health facility, it can be stored between +2 to +8. Now, AstraZeneca, which is very, very user-friendly, it is like our own routine vaccines, it could be stored at +2 to +8. Likewise, Moderna is like Johnson & Johnson, even though one is ultra cold, between minus 50 to minus 15 degrees at national level. But when it comes to at the last mile, it could be stored at +2 to +8. Pfizer, that one requires ultra cold chain, which is stored between minus 50 to minus 15 at the national level, and that periphery also could be used between +2 to +8, so that that is why we give the peripheral level. We don't give much doses, so that the little they get before it damages the usage. So now, in talking about the other aspect, that is the EMIT, the Electronic Management of Innovation Data, each vaccination facility will have access to the EMIT platform to report programmatic and logistic data with opportunities for troubleshooting in case of emergency. So in terms of access, all the facility will have the access, and the data will be reported into the platform. That includes the number of persons vaccinated, the wastage rate recorded, logistic data, the number of vials used, the number of empty vials, and the vials that are returned, just to ensure that empty vials are not used to go and fake the vaccines. And then in terms of troubleshooting, facilities and sites will be given access to contact details at NTCDA ICT team for submitting complaints of technical issues in the EMIT to facilitate troubleshooting of these issues when they arise. So just to ensure that we provide a strong oversight so that we don't derail in the vaccination process, we are holding daily meetings. You know, the supervisors will be holding daily meetings so that they will take a stock of vaccination activities, identify and mitigate challenges encountered, and to facilitate course of correction. And of course, the main objective of this meeting include, providing update on vaccination, report on challenges, and then identify critical issues that require prioritization. Finding from these review meetings will inform targeted advocacy and ensure corrective measures are taken if so required. So now we'll go into the results of the vaccination so far. I'm sure Professor Salako, being member of our ministerial expert committee, attends our situation room meeting. This slide is not new to him, but then for the sake of the others. As I started saying in the background, nationally, we are targeting almost 112 million Nigerians throughout the cycle of our vaccination rollout. And so far, we are only able to reach 5.7 million with first dose, and then out of which 3.5 have received their second dose. So combined, you can see we are only able to give about 8 million, shots of combined first and second dose vaccines. And in proportion, you can say we have only covered 5%, with first dose, and 2% or roughly 3% with the second dose, to say fully vaccinated. And I think this is a dismal performance per se, because initially the vaccines were not available, and when the vaccines came, the hesitancy has increased. So that is really the one that's responsible for causing this single digits performance, and for which we had to go extra mile to create mass vaccination sites to expand the provision gap. So this is summary of, just to give some detail of the summary I provided before. For Moderna, we so far 1.8 million people have received first dose in this phase, and then roughly 1.1 million have received a second dose. And then for AstraZeneca, 1.3 million have received first dose, and then just above 500,000 have received the second dose for this phase. So these slides indicate state-by-state performances of the vaccination. So we can see the name of the states are there. The number of people that have received the first dose are indicated. The number of people that have received the second dose are indicated. And then total, we can see the blue numbers nationally. You can see that is where the total is. That is 5.7 million for first dose, and then 3.2 million nationally for the second dose for the combined vaccines. So because of those challenges, and now we have to really identify risk and then mitigate all those challenges that are identified, and that is the last bucket of this presentation. So identify the risk that might be involved with the vaccination strategy and provided a mitigation plan. And this risk were first, payment of stipend to health workers, expiration of vaccines, vaccine diversion, poor data quality. So these are the main challenges which we have to focus in order to ensure that we are not derailed. For example, the issue of stipend were paid to health workers in the beginning of the vaccination campaign. But that cannot happen, continuously, because we cannot perpetually remain in vaccination mode. And there's a strong argument that these health workers are receiving salaries. Therefore, they should not be paid allowances again. And that one really causes a problem because health workers in Nigeria were spoiled by polio. During polio activities, every move is paid for. And that is what they expect in this country, in spite of this our economic downturn. So now we are communicating with the states and local governments and other employers of health workers, and they are informed clearly that that is not sustainable. We cannot pay continuously, but we can pay for weekends and probably for some transportation. Now the issue also of vaccine expiry, because many times we are getting vaccines that are coming with short life, as I started saying earlier. We receive vaccines that will expire, 2 months, 3 months, and that put us under serious pressure. And therefore, we have to boost our supervision. We have to put monitoring mechanism very closely, and then exert pressure, to ensure that no vaccine is lost. And at this point, I am pleased to inform this forum that since March, when we started vaccination rollout, and with the mix of vaccines that we are getting, we have never lost any vaccines to expiry dates. Also, in terms of vaccine diversion is another risk which we're afraid of. And that was why in the first phase, we did not involve the private health facilities. We were seriously guarding the vaccines because they were very few and we were not sure of getting more vaccines. And that was why we limited to public health facilities. So there is high risk of vaccine diversion and fraudulent activities if the vaccines are handed over to private sector. So we have to take action. So the Monitoring and Accountability Task Force will be tasked to strictly monitor vaccination activities going on in these institutions. The issue of also poor data quality because of the vaccines are coming, like trickling in, and the vaccination are given in multiple sites, including the hard to reach areas where there's no network, also the areas places where they go for outreach services, because of the number of the vaccination sites, there is a risk of data quality, and therefore we have to ensure optimal functionality of our EMIT platform for vaccination reporting, so that anytime anybody reaches where there is internet service, can easily get the EMIT. So we make sure that it is very functional, and because of the large number of the vaccination sites, of course, we expect the traffic. So that is why we don't take chance. We are looking at it every time. We have stationed people working on the EMIT to ensure that it functions. Thank you very much, and God bless you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity. And sorry if I've taken longer time than allocated. Thank you. Thank you, and over.
Thank you, Dr. Igala. I'm sure you heard the round of applause was quite wondrous. Let's appreciate the one for that. And don't be afraid to fight about the thing. I don't have any of those signals. Okay. Can you put a video so you can see on Facebook a place to the name and to the speech? Dr. Dava, can you just
Yes, sir.
What is your face? What do you have plan? Thank you.
Thank you.
Your face so you can take it properly.
Yes, I will show. Don't worry. I'm battling with the, we are used to Zoom, and this system one has to. It's giving me some troubles.
When many agree that was quite a lot that you mentioned, and I really want to appreciate him for that. He tried to get over the challenge to get the vaccine. The Nigerian don't need vaccine, so everything is regulated for us. And the fact that some of these were near the family and that put a lot of pressure on the agency. And the agency has an additional plan to vaccine about 50% by the end of next year. I hope we'll get them. And the other thing that you mentioned is the fact that the plan to scale up vaccine community using all available facilities, including private health sector, shopping mall in high density areas, and they want to employ PIS to be able to monitor how this is done. And also very important, as we mentioned there, the fact that you need to validate your vaccination card to ensure that the information there is correct. And share with us the website where you can do that, which is very germane. And I think I really need to appreciate the National Community Development Agency for the due diligence they've done in capturing the data for vaccine. Only the first time in the country that you can have a card that has a barcode that you can scan and can be used when you are traveling out of the country. Let's appreciate them. They also recommending funds that issue of vaccine card and what the agency has done, including having joint monitoring teams to track what is affecting the public, like issues in Nigeria, people type of beats in system. And also the big person told us that so far we don't 5.2% of those covered the country and 2.8% second dose coverage of the 111 million or close to 112 million eligible adults in their right teams. So we hope that the target they have will be able to get this done. For my area, what I can do to support this agency is to identify vaccine assistance. I didn't hear from the speech the fact that whether there's any bottom-up approach in controlling this, what I can do is top also. I think I need to go to the community to find out factors that is driving the vaccine assistance in different states and find intervention that is targeted by those issues at different state levels. And with that, we can actually scale up more coverage for the vaccine. Once again, Dr. Gaza, we really appreciate you for making this mention on behalf of Dr. Vaccination, the Executive Director and CEO of the National Primary Care Development Agency. Let's appreciate you once again. Thank you so much for being part of the conference. Now,
thank you very much.
One of our invited guests all the way from Senegal, Mr. Jean-Pierre Ugeson, came in. He was participating presented yesterday at the pre-conference. The talk was project management. He was mind-blowing. With 25 years, over 5 years of experience in project management for one kind of model. This kind of recognition. Thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. And also, we want to recognize Mr. Bayo at the Director, Technical Director for Unique Instruments. You're welcome. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate all of them. So up next, we want to see a video that will document or show to us what Nimr has done with regard to community response in the last 20 months together. So I think if you are ready, I don't know if for us to speak. I'm sure we can. Thank you. We only have 5 minutes to record for this. Can we do that quickly? Except all right, so we are trying to get a step together. After this opening ceremony, I just want to let us know we have a little stand under the back complex. And we have many organizations who are executing. We have Randos Laboratory Limited, Diversion Incorporated, the Kala Biotech West Africa, RXM Products, these are limited, Synapse, limited, Patek, XL limited, Kama Group, and HDX. So let's pull that after this program to and the videos right now. Please, I will call them. Thank you.
There are a lot of reasons, but I think whatever we used to do was not and there have been going through a series of that when the things are that, all of them since you are not formal, there is a man who also different meaning that just one person. We read about putting all the
All right, if I can behind the we will proceed without the video and move on to the next thing on the agenda. Clear this section of how together we try to come back. Please can you stop the video? Or you don't coming out to just the next time. Just watch the video.
Mr. Chairman, I'm able to show my video. If you can see, just see my face and go back.
All right, thank you. So, before we invite the big masquerades, the big part of the world, when the big masquerade dances, nobody has danced. And the big masquerade today is no other person than Mr. Potts, Mr. Park, who is represented here today, by Dr. Huta. So before he comes to give us the speech as a special guest of honor, we have another item to attend to. We have the presentation by the Roots Award for Handicap and Popular Resistance. And I want to invite Professor Stella Ice to help us to conduct this speech. Welcome to the podium, Professor Stella.
Thank you very much. So I don't see very brief here. I'd like to welcome the Bureau of Francophone Africa coming all the way from Kenya, particularly for this young investigator on by name Dr. Sige. He is business medical affairs manager at Francophone Africa. Please welcome Dr. Sige.
This side. For the side, thank you very much for that kind introduction. It's a pleasure to be here this morning with you. It's a wonderful event. All the finished guests, all the attendees. It's a pleasure to come back from the event. And hi, my name is Dr. State. I work with the BMU, the company, one of the subsidiaries of this community. That I think we are working this morning. So, thank you very much. So we can go to the next slide. So this is a very brief overview of the organization. As I mentioned, I work for Nimr, which is a diagnostic company. But there's significant other organizations at the time. This is the one that was organized in our brand for. So basically, what this data award is about is about partnerships. So the award is given by institute by a partnership with a local institution or organization. For the purposes of today, the institution was China. But as you can see on this side, we have partnered with other institutions and organizations in Kenya, in Uganda, and Nigeria, so, but also in Africa, and my colleague in Africa. In terms of the selection criteria, basically looks at health and option, biologists, epidemiologists, who has treated experience post-qualification, conducting research, touching on areas that are relevant to this field, such as antimicrobial resistance, but more recently it has been expanded to include topics such as, of course, COVID-19 oncology, and other areas that are relevant to emergency medicine. So the process is basically the local society institutional association. In this case, NIMA, they send out a call for application, and they do their own internal process of vetting these applications and selecting the three finalists. And so there is ownership at the local level in terms of the selection of this of the team. And these finalists are sent to the institution, which then evaluates them and selects the final winner amongst those that have been selected. And then the winner will receive prize money of 10,000 euros, which will be given to the society association to conduct other research. So we had several opportunities across Africa, now. In 2020, we were able to, despite the COVID-19 pandemic, we were looking after the pandemic level of Nigeria, which is expensive, some work, and we did have awards last year, and hope to continuously expand to other countries so that we can continue our young scientists. So this is just photographic evidence of what has been happening. On the left-hand side, you can see the most recent awards in Kenya. Two of them, both held in October. One with the Kenya AIDS Vaccine Institute of Research, and the other one with the Kenya Association of Clinical Pathologists. And on the right-hand side, you can see the award for NIMA for last year. And the people who have taken that's today, excellent presentation this morning. So this is something that I hope we continue. So I will talk to you about the work with the finalists.
We have 10 applications this year, and out of the 10, shortlisted 3. Dr. Ahmed who has a PhD in medical microbiology and is a lecturer at the University of London. We have Dr. Chika Ichiogo, who has a PhD in pharmaceutical microbiology about it, and is currently a lecturer at the State University. And we have Dr. Ken Jojo, who has a PhD in microbiology and is a lecturer at the University. You can see the widespread applicants from different parts of the country. Next slide. And the winner is Dr. Chika Ejikeowo. Dr. Chika Ejikeowo. I would like Dr. Mukta Mohammed to please kindly come and present the check, the national coordinator of the Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19. Thank you very much. So, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. It's really an honor and privilege to be the one to present this award of the Gold Investigator Award to the candidate who has won. Because I also that it's a thorough process, and really thanking the institute to organize it. And I hope this will encourage other young investigators to also coach so much and put more energy into scientific research and innovation.
Members of the committee, please, Professor Alvin, Professor Dr. Diwali.
So from the
Thank you very much.
Okay. So let's take a look for Professor Lansbury for taking on what we have been. Our chair, also Dr. Uta Mohammed, president of the Federation and IB. I want to bring your intelligence to give my party consider videos. They are ready for us now. So then also really exciting, please go ahead. Thank you.
Everybody expects that after she feeling a lot of people because you saw it in Europe. But that has not happened. There are a lot of reasons people have agreed to this. But I think whatever we agreed to, it was not for the fact that Nigeria has been going through series of diseases from last to cholera, to diabetes, to Ebola experience. So we already have a path for us to control the disease. So when coronavirus disease came, it was easy to use that same platform and to begin to do this communication and helping the people about the COVID-19 protocols, finally the what we should do. During the 2 weeks that we had, almost everybody complied. If you are not complying, because the government usually will not grant to everybody. Say, oh, can't go out. So all of these efforts really has happened. Not getting so rapid and COVID-19 pandemic. The first one person will be about 50,000, putting all the different resources that have to come together to better ones. So if we are prepared 50% of the year, and we how much that is, not like trying to vaccinate them, you know, how much money we go into it. What the government is doing is to do as much as they can. Nigeria Institute of Medical Research is the first medical research institute in Nigeria. How it started in the 1920s. The mandate is to conduct research into the diseases of competent developers in Nigeria. Main diseases that are available are people, personally, the number of mobility and mortality among Nigeria. National support mainly from the federal government. And what we do is to budget along the line of the nation's health research agenda and priorities. But government support alone cannot do it. And so we rely on the public partnership, like what NGO has provided for us, which is one of the largest health providing in this country.
Image synthesizer is involves like working equipment, which helps in the synthesis of nucleic acids in particular sequence change. Every DNA form. So the nucleic acids are like the codes in life. And the codes are written in particular sequence, just like the binary codes in a computer. You know, they are written in a particular sequence. So in living systems, we have codes, right, which are written in specific sequence. So explaining any living thing, it's always important that you can get the blueprints of that living thing that can be about. So what the synthesizer does is to help you synthesize a short fragment of the blueprints, so that you can use that short fragment of the blueprints to further prove the blueprints of life and help you explain diseases, help you describe pathogens such as viruses, bacteria, or whatever.
People that don't take the course, which is something that is required at the initial design and production of whether it is kits or vaccines or drug development. So This is, maybe it's in any point of concern, and I think the second in West Africa.
So this we can improve Nigeria's capacity in making our own personal destinies. This happened when the first set of destinies or kind of shape of the day, we take from that things and then it spread to the world. So everybody in the world has to be finance the companies that we. So if peradventure we have an outbreak in West Africa, I don't think governments in Nigeria will support the US. The process of requesting for your political finance or legal science starts from the office or language of the scientists, whereby you design the finance or the legal regulations and submit it on our website by the portal, and we get the sequence of DNA that is request, and we copy it on the flash drive and put it into the legal synthesizer. Once you get into the legal synthesizer, the machine uses an artificial intelligence and some robotic systems to have your DNA sequence, synthesized. Once the machine is done synthesizing, we have to verify the product. And uses of purification may either be through the polyacrylic manager of electrophoresis purification or the HPLC purification. And we also have the dissolving method of purification that is available in our language. And once this is done, we have something like this, like the lines form, which is ready to be shipped to any part of the world without a whole chain logistics process. It's like lights and scientists can go ahead and use it for whatever applications they would like to use it for. This is a project in life science, which covers, just beyond medicine and goes cut across all areas of life. The training in the use of variable synthesizer will quickly help us understand how the equipment works, maintenance of the equipment, which is very important, and to get us closer to how to understand the usage of the consumables that will be required to use the equipment. And this will also increase the capacity building for most of my colleagues and myself inclusively. We also have graduate interns that are working with us and we train them how to use this equipment and also when they need time move to other labs and spread the knowledge about the use of the imaging design.
It may look like this is related to Nigeria. I believe it's related to Nigerians and researchers in particular who now have the opportunity of accessing it at a very short distance and time. And then they can move on with their experiment as quickly as possible. That hasn't happened very well. That's going to happen now. And I believe it is one corporate responsibility that we can put value on. Because we won't lost connection to Nigerians and we want to have the election for this.
All right, thank you very much. I think thank you will pay off by about the same side. Well, we thank you for that presentation. You guys very good. Now, I want to point the mic back to sometimes last day. Every day, the phone was on total lockdown. And then you wait almost every evening to hear the statements from Arunda talking about the national capacity of COVID-19. I'm going to hear the speech of a certain gentleman who led the process, who has successfully, to a very big extent, mitigated the impact and the effects of COVID-19 in an country Nigeria. I'm talking about no other person than Mr. Boss Mustafa, the Secretary to the Government of Federation of Nigeria, who's also the Chair, the Presidential Steering Committee of COVID-19. He is going to give a speech here today as our special guest of honor. And it's here executed by a very capable person, Dr. Mukta Emmanuel, who is the National Coordinator, Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19. So please, with the round of applause, celebrating the invention and the impact already done, knowledge of the pandemic. Please welcome to the podium, Dr. Mukta Emmanuel. Thank you, Mr. Boss. Thank you so very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome, very warm welcome. The Director General, National Institute of Medical Research, the Chairman of Education, Professor Gupta, and the Executive of Cambridge, the Director of Nimr, other distinguished guests here, and the peers. It's really personally my pleasure to hear and to present my chairman, chairman of the Potential Self Committee, Mr. Boss Mustafa, who is also the secretary to the government of the Federation. He had asked me, and he was out and he was report to say that, are you in Lagos? That was yesterday. When he said that, I realized I had no option but to look for the next available flights and some colleagues to Lagos. We take this conference very seriously and we are setting very many efforts. The second one, particularly the efforts the Institute is making in terms of scientific research, innovation, and the tremendous efforts you have made in combating COVID-19. That is very appreciated. Now, I'll now go ahead and read the speech of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Chairman, Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19, and Mr. Boss Mustafa. I am greatly elated by the honor extended to me by the National Institute of Medical Research as a special guest of honor at this year's prestigious conference on health innovation and research. With our understand started about 10 years ago. This conference has provided a platform for robust intellectual engagement and cross-fertilization of ideas on health knowledge and issues that have positively impacted the health sector of Nigeria. This year's scientific conference, incidentally, has a special appeal because it's the COVID-19 pandemic consolidating the gains and addressing the shortfalls as a nexus with the Nigerian Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19, which I chair. And after engagement with my colleagues at the PhD and all critical stakeholders in the country, the review of the enormous public health challenge, the mobility and mortality of COVID-19, at local and international level, I consider the theme of this year's scientific conference of NISA as very ingenious and timely, as it will serve as a forerunner to the elaborate proposed national COVID-19 summit scheduled for December 2021 in Abuja. This summit is geared towards the position in Nigeria to align with the global agenda in the COVID-19 pandemic in December 2022. It is therefore my hope and prayer that this conference will not only contribute to galvanizing efforts towards ending COVID-19 in Nigeria, by consolidating the enormous gains we have already made in our onerous fight against this disruptive pandemic and addressing identified gaps in our national COVID-19 response, but will also serve as the platform to launch Nigeria with a new phase of deeper scientific research, innovation, and medical revolution. It importance of this knowledge. And I hereby declare this conference on health innovation and research open. We wish you all insightful and successful deliberations. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Then you're studying as a PhD, they study prevention. Thank you so very much. This time is it. As we begin to draw the opening ceremony to a close, let's take our chairman for the remark. Please welcome Professor Aditya Gupta for his remarks.
Very difficult to have words to explain the incredible introduction we had this morning from our distinguished guests and speakers, the three professors of our show. Just put some stuff also from President on vaccine rollout, future of vaccines in Nigeria, which I think is probably one of the most important aspects of public health going forward for the next 12 months. I believe that's coronavirus is going to research in many senses, and it's going to target populations where vaccines are at low coverage. So having that talk this morning was absolutely vital for us to understand where we are in Nigeria and in other parts of Africa, what needs to be done in terms of vaccine access. So this is everyone's responsibility to advocate for proper access to vaccine immediately without further delay, which may include various things like restrictions and diseases, etc. And it was also wonderful to see the video of the work that's been done in NIMR, the incredible technologies available, including primary synthesis, which I think is a revolution. And we would like to have one of those machines, I'm sure, in Cambridge, to synthesize our own data quickly. And I think it's vital in a place where new emerging diseases are not infrequent, so the reported viral fever, for example, and you can imagine a situation where surveillance can be undertaken rapidly with this technology in hand. I would also like to acknowledge the excellent speech by Professor etc. And very, very uplifting and positive messages. And of course, this conference on health access and innovation, I think it's a really great symbol that this is about health in general, not just infectious diseases, but also the interaction between chronic disease and infectious disease, which has to be part of our strategy moving forward. We know from coronavirus, in fact, isolating infections from comorbidities is a fatal mistake because most of the people who are dying of this disease still have underlying conditions such as diabetes or hypertension or things that are not classically associated with immunosuppression. So this I think is an opportunity for us to seize on the interaction between chronic infections and diseases and infections. So with that positive and wonderful morning of the opening ceremony, I'd like to acknowledge everybody who took part in that and who organised this. The names are too many to mention. If I finish any important ones, please let me know. And I look forward to a fruitful and incredibly fulfilling few days talking with you all, and I hope that new networks will be established on the basis of what we've seen this morning. And I look forward to seeing you this afternoon.
I just have this again for my chairman. Just have to take before we take the vote of importance for me to recognize two of our invited dignitaries. We have students of the team to see the forward study for Latin. We are taking forward. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate you. And also Dr. Abbas Salam, the head of the Department of Education of College. Great of thank you so much for coming. So please welcome to the podium for auto thanks, our Director of Administration of Allied PTA, Minister Down, and then I'm. Welcome, all people to presentation on all the churches this is small price. This start or on behalf of the institute, our chairman of education, Professor and editor from Cambridge University, United Kingdom. Thank you very much. And I agree to be the chairman of the agreement. And I was not able to come one and common boss, a mentor, Dr. Boss, the secretary, the governor of the and chairman of the steering committee. If you represented by Dr. Mohammed, by the specialist of honor, despite his tight schedule, you can hear what Dr. Mohammed said, that he's not in the country, just calling yesterday afternoon. That shows the sincerity of purpose and the love for the institute. We want to thank him very much. Convey our sincere appreciation and regards to him. And we look forward for one thing. He has always been well, we I know you know so much, and we pray that we go back to this conversation. I must also, on behalf of this, thank the keynote speaker, Dr. Pilot Chwanya, who was represented by Dr. for the keynote lecture on behalf of the institute. Thank you very much. I must also thank the board, who always come before in the regional medical side. Thank you most for keeping the promise for sustaining this event. Despite tight financial, I don't know how to say it, you have to schools for this thing to hold. I want to be very much that. Let me thank our guests, our Bola, and we thank you for the love you have for this institute. And our guest from Kenya, Dr. Tom, I want to thank you. We know your love for this institute. We pray that Almighty God, in His infinite mercy, will continue to enrich and empower you to see more of you in many years to come. Yes, I exactly what we have the Central Organic Committee led by Dr. Sikiromon. I know all the efforts they have put. Planning is not easy. Organizing is not easy. Running up and down, both with their official and personal work. Members of this community, and especially those to you on behalf of this, we thank you and the people that come like to call you those. And for the participants, that is why it's because of things that were here. If you didn't come, we will not have a place to stay here today. We thank you sincerely, and it's a hope that by the time you leave this company, you will talk out reasonable and implemented policies to enhance health in Nigeria, not only in Nigeria. We thank you and we wish you happy stay and fruitful celebration. And to members of the senior management committee, thank you for coming. And for other people, we thank you. And for this kind of affairs, thanks and God bless you. We hope conference is continued. And get the thanks of money. God bless you. Thank you very much. Please, I am now taking my time to my administration. Please, let's try and properly. When I was talking before in many names, that many people understand what he was talking about. I have two share of Naima, mainly the one that beautified the city, and he said one that that's what I heard was one of my so very good. Meaning the man transformed the Gucci area to a city. Let's appreciate numbers. We can love between we can love difference. So and more as we come once again, please appreciate Professor. All right, thank you very much. Up next, in the next few hours, we have a roundtable conference between 1 and 2 p.m. on viral fever. That will take place at the Governmental Center across the road. By 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., we have a symposium in this auditorium of COVID-19 pandemic consolidating the games. Addressing the short form, we have technical speakers, Professor Bio. I think we can provide Lagos State Professor Milabu, right there with us. One of the president of Lagos, Professor Henry Lokwe, the consider Doctor in Institute, Professor Ari and Nicola, Fellow Academy of Science, of course, we need no further introduction. So we want to get everyone. And the last one for the day is the 10th distinguished lecture to be delivered by our guest from Cambridge University, Professor Ravindra K. Gupta. So please, we have a lot in stock for you for the rest of the day. Now, right about now, we close this session. We go outside. I invited guests to have a photo session, and after we proceed to the education stand, and from there we move on to have their lunch at Oka guest house. The rest of us will be here to have a lunch in house here. So we'll stand up if you permit me to have now again together as we close the ceremony. Okay, the delegates need to pick up the lunch at the exhibition stand. Okay, so we just have a picture of who runs to the stand.